The budget session of India's parliament has come to an end. The final session before the country goes to polls in a few months from now. This also marks an end to what has been a really eventful 5 years to say the least. Fiery speeches, heavy sloganeering, adjournments, even borderline unruly behaviour sometimes. Then of course there was the new parliament building. The government called it historic and a moment that marked a fresh beginning.
अब हमें अतीत की हर कड़वाहट को भुलाकर आगे बढ़ना है। इस स्पिरिट के साथ जब हम यहां से हमारे आचरण से, हमारी वाणी से, हमारे संकल्पों से जो भी करेंगे देश के लिए, राष्ट्र के एक एक नागरिक के लिए वो प्रेरणा का कारण बनना चाहिए और हम सबको इस दायित्व को निभाने के लिए भरसक प्रयास भी करना चाहिए।
That things didn't quite change is a different story altogether. Chaos continued. A record 146 lawmakers from the opposition parties were suspended. 100 out of 545 MPs in the Lok Sabha and 46 out of 245 in the Rajya Sabha were suspended. And there was the major security breach in Parliament in December. Remember, that happened on the anniversary of the 2001 Parliament attacks. Now one can argue that most things have become the norm, like shouting slogans and protesting, and the ones responsible for it depend on which political party sits where. But amidst all this chaos, what has the Parliament actually achieved? What I mean is, how has it fared on its primary job, that is to frame laws that affect us? How productive has the Parliament been? And why should you and I pay attention to it? Hello and welcome to Simply Put. I am Shubham Chohan. Let's get started. Now, before we get into the numbers and try to understand how productive the Parliament has been, let's get a few basics out of the way. The Parliament is the supreme lawmaking body of India. It's divided into two houses. First, there's the Lok Sabha, which is the lower house, and then there's the Rajya Sabha, which is the upper house. At present, Lok Sabha has 543 MPs, while Rajya Sabha has 245. Members of the Lok Sabha are elected by us, the citizens, every 5 years. 543 MPs for around 140 crore people. That works out to roughly 1 MP for about 25 lakh people. No wonder Parliament is also called a nation in miniature. So basically, these MPs from across the country act as the voice of those in his or her constituency. They sit together, that is the government and opposition in the Parliament, and discuss and deliberate laws that directly affect our lives in one form or the other. Just to reiterate, this is in theory. We'll get to the practicality of it. The Constitution mandates that there shouldn't be a gap of more than 6 months between two Parliament sessions. And so typically, the Parliament meets thrice every year. There's the budget session, then there's the monsoon session between July and September, and the winter session towards the end of the year. So that was the theory part of it. Now a key talking point over the years has been the productivity of the Parliament itself, like how functional it has been, or how many bills have been passed and discussed adequately. While our constitution does not specify how many days Parliament should meet, data shows a critical trend. During the first 2 decades of Parliament, Lok Sabha met for an average of a little more than 120 days a year. This has now come down to approximately 70 days in the last decade or so. But for now, let's focus on the last 5 years, since that's a more recent period to look at. The term of the 17th Lok Sabha began in 2019 after the Bharatiya Janata Party-led National Democratic Alliance came to power for the second straight time. And since then, productivity of the Parliament has shown a downward trend. Now, productivity in this case is basically the share of the scheduled time that was spent functioning in each house. So, in the 2019 session after the elections, that's the first session, the Lok Sabha spent 135% of its scheduled time functioning. The Rajya Sabha was at 100%. Now jump to 2023 in the winter session, this figure came down to 74% and 81% respectively, meaning the time Parliament spent actually functioning fell. At the time of recording this video, the productivity numbers for the interim budget session stood at 156% and 142%. Let's dig further. What about discussions and debate on bills? That too fell. In 2019, about 124 hours in the Lok Sabha and 90 hours of discussion in Rajya Sabha was spent discussing legislation. By 2024, this figure came down to under 40 hours. For instance, a controversial bill on the appointment of the election and chief election commissioners was passed with minimal discussion. The three bills that overhaul India's criminal laws were discussed for 3 hours and 10 minutes before being passed. Now, it's also important to note one thing here. When bills become laws, these are applicable for the entire nation. So it's imperative that lawmakers from all parties engage in fruitful discussions, including the opposition, whose job is to hold the government to account. But that has not been the case either. In the winter session last year, when most of the bills were passed or discussed, the opposition was absent. Like I said at the beginning, a record 146 MPs were suspended. They were demanding a debate on the 13th December Parliament security breach. And now to the last part. What does a logjam or low productivity in the Parliament mean for you and me? For starters, it's a costly affair. According to officials, the cost of running a Parliament is around 2.5 lakh rupees per minute. Now, this is taxpayers' money. This includes daily expenses like electricity, water, petrol, food bills, Parliament security, etc. And second, the Parliament is a place where the government is held to account by an opposition. The lack of a powerful opposition or suspending them altogether means that there are no checks and balances. The government can just push through bills concerning us by the power of sheer numbers. And now, as we look forward to a hectic poll season, when another set of lawmakers will enter Parliament in some months, it remains to be seen how the Parliament of India goes about its business. That's all for this episode of Simply Put. Do like and share the video. Do let us know what you think in the comment section below. And also subscribe to HW News English for more such videos. Thanks for watching.
Roti Bank Foundation has served over 1.5 crore meals to needy kids. Feed a child with just ₹40. Please donate generously. Visit rotibankfoundation.org. Join hands to build a healthy India.
Stay ahead with our cutting-edge news app. Instantly access the latest shorts in just 1 minute and breaking news in just 50 words. Download now for a smarter, faster news experience.